Hey, Foot Clan, Lowe's is our new go-to destination for discovering the newest Craftsman products, including mechanics, tool sets, storage, and more in-store and online, like the 120-tooth ratchet. It has a 3-degree arc swing that lets you loosen or tighten bolts with less movement in those hard-to-reach spots. Plus, it comes in a gunmetal chrome finish. It's not only sharp-looking, but it makes them corrosion-resistant. Shop the new home of Craftsman today at Lowes.com/footballers. That's Lowes.com/footballers.
Hey, this is Kenyon Drake. You're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. We're still doing the show.
I'm still looking for my pants
Yeah,
after that game last night.
You took your pants off?
No,
they combusted.
Yeah, just straight fire. I've never seen anything.
I never seen nothing like that
in
before.
all my days. Here's how crazy last night's game was. I brought my wife in to see it.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, now you know that my wife, she's not the football fanatic. I'm like, Tiff, you got to come. She's like, I'm decorating. I'm like, you got to check this out.
Did she appreciate what you had told her?
She lovingly pretended to.
Oh, that's a good wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And the game was so long.
I'll say my story is
My wife was not happy with how long it was.
I had an event last night. My wife and I went and watched the speaker, so I tape delayed the game. I went completely dark though
I noticed
on my
it
phone.
was depressing. I had no one to talk to.
I turned on the D&D
Other than Jason.
I was there, bro. I had no one to talk to. We were talking all night.
You
wow.
were, well,
You're
you
a
were,
nobody.
You were really rooting against me, though. So let's
That's
move on.
true.
Let's
So,
hear the rest of the story.
Whenever you set up the game to tape, it always asks you, it's a live event. Do you want to add 30 minutes? Of course. I don't want to miss the end of this game. As far as I know, the Kansas City Chiefs won the game because the Rams were driving, and then it just cut out.
Well, you're first of all, learn to DVR, bro. If you learn to sports DVR, I'm an hour and a half on every sporting
You
event.
add an hour and a half?
To everyone I've ever done. No joke.
Mr. Big Bucks has like 1,000 terabyte DVR.
It's 2018, Mike.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, and mine's
Conserving your DVR for
No, it's 95% full.
Dora and Friends?
Not Dora.
If you
Yo
ever,
Gabba Gabba.
if
Uh-huh.
you ever needed the hour and a half, you're gonna be real upset if it didn't. If you lost that recording.
Did you enjoy the game?
It was
Jason?
unbelievable.
I genuinely had a blast watching that game from the get-go. You know, there's crazier endings to football games, more memorable, but I can't remember a game where from the first drive on, it was non-stop entertainment, pure greatness.
Is that what you – genuine question. Is that what you would want every week, or would you prefer 35, 31, some defense being played?
There was defense played, but there was defensive scores.
Yeah, I don't settle for garbage.
There were defensive
30 to
scores.
30 is garbage now.
When you give up when there's over 1,000 yards, there's not a lot of defense being played. Would we agree with that?
I saw people playing defense every snap.
Yeah.
Highest scoring game in Monday Night Football history, over 773 games.
Look,
Yeah.
this better be the Super Bowl. We need a rematch.
Do you think it will be, though?
No, I think the Saints.
The Saints is really going to be very, very tough to go through New Orleans.
But that's still going to be a great.
Well, and
Saints
Super Bowl.
versus Chiefs, if it happens.
And the Chiefs, I mean, they lost in Foxborough. So if they don't have the 1 seed and they have to go back there, that's going to be a tough game too.
Andy Reid will definitely mismanage the game in the playoffs. So it'll be
I was so
Patriots.
impressed that he got to the 2-minute warning with 3 timeouts. And it worked to his advantage.
He did it.
He gave Mahomes a chance. But I believe I went into last night's game in our League of Record down by 20 with the Tyreek Mahomes stack and won by 80 points, something like
Yes.
that.
It was against me. That is correct.
Yeah, that worked out.
Real quick, actual fantasy analysis on this game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the big players, of course, they're great. Todd Gurley is a top story from this game. We saw a lot of Malcolm Brown. Now, I was watching the game on skip 30 seconds, so, I mean, unfortunately, I missed a lot of that stunning Jason Witten analysis.
But I did not, so fortunate, but go on.
But what my point is, I didn't hear anything about Todd Gurley of why is he not on the field.
But you noticed it in passing, which is, I think, what the point. Like, there was something banged up wrong about Todd Gurley last night. Only 12 carries in a game where, look, it was one of the highest scoring games in NFL history. He put up his lowest scoring fantasy game of the year. People were freaking out about it, and for good reason, because you had multiple red zone carries by Malcolm Brown. You had very few carries by Todd Gurley, and even from the design screen standpoint, they ran a few things to him, but it wasn't like a staple of what the offense was doing, despite Brandon Cooks going out for a brief period of time, despite no Cooper Kupp. And, he seems banged up, but you got the bye week. You got 2 weeks, and he'll be okay.
We haven't heard anything. The other takeaway is Josh Reynolds, 6 for 80 with a hose down. He was very involved, 8 targets compared to the big two guys. Cooks had 12, Robert Woods had 11. I mean, Josh Reynolds.
This is the Waiver Wire show. We'll get into that in a little bit, but in my view,
Did he shoot up?
He is a 100% must pick up. You're on potentially the best offense in the league. You're on the field at all times. The opportunity for fantasy production will be there. And he's a good player. I believe he's a good player.
I think he's a good player. I think we'll talk about it when he comes up, and I think he's obviously a pickup depending on – we'll see what expectations are. Also, Gerald Everett had 2 more touchdowns.
Are we going to climb?
He's officially –
Mount Everett.
Oh, okay. I see that. Yeah.
It's back.
I'm adding him to my stream team.
I don't think it was ever there yet. It's coming.
It was
never there. But he's officially on the stream team when it comes to tight ends in terms of – look, you can take a shot with him. He was probably – in a game with this kind of over-under, which, by the way, Vegas took a major bath. 69% of people.
I hope they're clean now.
Bet on the over. They're cleaned out.
Oh,
They're cleaned out.
We got there.
He saved it.
Sometimes you should pause to make sure you got the right joke.
Never.
Because you could get, it's good or better, Mike. Like, they're all good, but you could be better.
I could, but I'm like a machine gun. I got to fire them out.
I agree. You are. Let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
Machine Gun Mike.
Machine Gun Mike.
That's what my grandpapa used to call
me. You get better with age. I mean,
most
like a machine gun.
I don't think that's true. Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can follow Machine Gun Mike at FF Hitman. You can follow Jason at JasonFFL. I'm at Andy Holloway. I was live tweeting the whole game long.
Oh, I'm jealous.
50% of them were Jason Witten related. Jason Witten has I tweeted this last night. He has a random analysis button that he pushes, and then it's like one of those dolls where you pull the string in the back, and then some sentence comes out, and like 50% of those sentences are tight end related. But my favorite, and Booger did it too. My favorite was negative plays. Like Gurley, he took a little outside zone run. He lost a yard, and literally he goes, "That's what I love about Todd Gurley."
My favorite of the broadcast group is how they're emphatically in the middle of a point, and they're saying this is really good, and then they just stop, and it's like, I was done with that sentence. It's like, what? Where did your analysis go? It just stopped.
Imagine the chemistry problems we would have if we'd put Jason like out in the front room on like a ladder, and then we were like, we just hook up his headphones. Like the chemistry problem of having him down on the field. He jumps in and he feels like he has to just scream one big sentence to you and then go back to Blade Hands Witten. I'm sorry. People, every few people are like, I'm being too hard on him. No, it was bad. It is bad. They're all gone. This show's about fantasy football, though. So let's get into it. News and notes. Packers coach Mike McCarthy said that Jimmy Graham will try to play through his broken thumb in Week 12.
Yeah.
Do you need your thumbs?
What?
Do you need your thumbs for the old catching?
Yeah. For the catching, it helps. I mean,
he's not a blocker.
No, the thing is he has been disappointing in general. You put him out there with a broken thumb, he's someone you need to stay away from for fantasy, in my view, until he proves
Gerald
that he
Everett,
can play with
Jimmy
a broken
Graham, right now. Would you
Everett.
drop Graham to pick up Everett today? I mean, it's the waiver show.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to have a start next week, I'm not starting Jimmy Graham. So
Well, you can't start Everett next week.
that is also true. So I would, but I don't think I'm dropping Jimmy Graham. He's one of those situations where, because of how bad the tight end landscape is, I think you still need to hold on to an Aaron Rodgers, lead tight end.
So Lance Kendricks is what you're saying? Pick up.
Yeah,
one.
I would rather play Lance Kendricks this week.
Not Tanyan Harding.
Yeah. Carry on Johnson, not expected to play on Thanksgiving. So
fantasy football platforms, if you could just go ahead and mark him out
that would be
before the
convenient for you.
waivers run tonight, I would appreciate it.
So if he's not expected to play, do you turn to Theo Riddick in this in this game?
Yeah, Theo Riddick is a fine flex play.
So
this
maybe
week.
he's we'll talk about him soon then. The Bucs are going to go back to Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback. The ping pong ball keeps going back and forth.
At least for the first half.
And yeah, exactly. It's like we do our projections every week. We always have to factor in the second quarterback in Tampa, and we're like, is this second quarterback in Tampa going to outperform Brock Osweiler this week?
Yeah, it's basically who's higher, Taysom Hill, who we know will get work, or the backup quarterback for Tampa Bay, who might start half the game.
Because did you guys realize that on the week, Jameis Winston was quarterback 15.
Yeah, I did realize that.
Playing half of a game. Like, he finished ahead of Matt Ryan.
It's such
Stafford.
I mean, I think the number a few weeks ago was the quarterback.
They still are.
The quarterback for Tampa is in the top 5.
No, it's QB2.
Oh, okay. In the top 2. And yet you can be buried by starting them because they get swapped out. O.J. Howard getting a second opinion on the ankle. Initial testing revealed good news. This is good news for fantasy owners, but we don't know what his chance to play is this week.
He got good news, so he wants a second opinion?
Yeah.
He likes positive reinforcement.
No, I don't think he plays this week.
I don't know.
Probably not.
It was projected to be a high ankle sprain. Although, didn't he have a high ankle sprain earlier this season and played that week? So
No, he didn't play that week. He took some time off.
It was coming off of the bye. I think it was the bye week.
He missed some time. That's why everybody went and freaked out about Cameron Brate for a week with O.J. Howard, but Brate didn't really deliver. Maybe he did come back that same week, though. I don't know.
He surprised everyone.
I don't remember when.
He has not missed a – well, he missed week 4, but I think that's the week he went out. So we'll see.
Correct.
We'll see.
Joe Flacco, chance he returns in week 12. But not expected back. I don't think you probably play Lamar Jackson if you expected Flacco back right away. That's what my view would be. I think if you were trying to bridge for a week, you might have played RG3. I think they're probably planning on Lamar Jackson for another week.
I'm with you.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I think Lamar starts again, and Lamar will be a fine quarterback stream again.
Marcus Mariota suffered a stinger in Week 11. He's not in the concussion protocol. They're hopeful he'll be back to play Monday night. This is more related to, can you trust a pass-catching option or ancillary piece against the Texans? No. I mean, that's a bad matchup. Bench them all. And the Redskins have signed Mark Sanchez.
That'll be fun.
Mark Sanchez.
Little Christmas gift for Mark.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Yeah, and, Colt McCoy runs around a little bit. You could see Mark Sanchez
No,
on the field.
don't put that on the world. No.
It might be entertaining. It might be fun. Are you ready for Mark Sanchez to win the NFC East? Is that what
what a world we live in. What a time to be alive.
And then upset, like the Rams in the first round?
Oh, stop it. Just stop.
Okay, let's talk waivers instead.
Put me in, coach.
Mark Sanchez, obviously the big pickup here in the waiver.
Yeah.
Okay. Chiefs and Rams, they get a week off. They deserve it. They scored 2 weeks' worth of points last night. So no Rams and Chiefs in Week 12. But other than that, which may make up about half your roster, there aren't any other bye weeks the remainder of the season. Let's start at the wide receiver position, looking at the waiver wire. Big pickups this week. Who are your favorites?
Well, we talked about him a second ago, but my 2 favorite pickups are Josh Reynolds and Courtland Sutton. Those are the two guys right now. Courtland Sutton's taken in a lot of leagues. Well, we talked about this the last 3 weeks running. His schedule was really bad after DT was traded. But from this point onward, it is unbelievably great. Not a single bad matchup. I think he's going to have a great rest of the way. And Josh Reynolds, to me, is a must-start type of player. I think when you are on the field for 89% of the snaps for a team that is passing the ball as well as the Rams are, we don't know what's going on with Gurley. I mean, it's not always going to be as fruitful as Kansas City. The matchup won't be that good. But if you throw a guy like that out there in your flex and you're wondering, you've got the flip a coin type of guys, his probability of having a touchdown even in a bad game is higher than, having to throw out a player from the Cardinals or a player from the Jets.
Now, reminder, just real quick, Jay, he is on bye this week.
Yeah.
So you're picking him up to stash him for 2 weeks.
Yes. I mean, it
and
obviously
still your favorite?
To be a counterbalance, can I be the counterbalance, though?
Please.
The counterbalance to me is this game, obviously Kansas City was a piece of the puzzle. Todd Gurley being banged up and then barely turning the running game as a piece of the puzzle. I look at Josh Reynolds as an absolute – look, I understand picking him up. I understand the offense. I understand all the snaps. But there are similarities here between him and Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the sense that not the number one option, okay? Could get lost in the shuffle depending on the game plan. Gerald Everett obviously had a big role. Tyler Higbee caught a bunch of passes. Brandon Cooks left for a little while. I think you can get a great game out of Josh Reynolds. I don't think he's an auto flex. That's just what my opinion is.
I think he's
unless you
close.
Consider, MBS is out there for every snap, and he had a dud of a game.
Oh, so. I would still pick up Marquez as well. I don't think anyone in this wide receiver list is
well, I'd much rather have Courtland Sutton. And I'd much rather have Taylor Gabriel.
I would
really.
Man, we haven't even hit the name that is my number one guy of the week. It's Tre'Quan Smith
and DJ Moore. Yeah, those two are big pickups.
Tre'Quan for the New Orleans Saints. I think this was the breakout game for him. 10 for 157. He scored. He had 13 targets. I mean, he was an absolute target hog this past week, and the schedule for him is pretty delightful with Atlanta, Dallas, Tampa Bay are his next 3 matchups. Tre'Quan's my number one waiver wire or number one wide receiver pickup of the week.
He's probably better to talk about than Sutton or DJ Moore. He's far less owned than both of them because he had that gooser. We talked about both DJ Moore and Tre'Quan Smith on the show yesterday. Rookie production goes up in the second half of the season. I would take Tre'Quan over Reynolds. Sutton's probably owned in your league.
Yeah, he
the likelihood of him being owned is pretty high.
Sure, and then there's guys like Kiki. He had a very solid game, got 9 targets, 5 for 77.
While Demaryius Thomas did nothing.
Correct, and I don't expect Demaryius to do nothing, but I thought the trade was very strange for Houston. It seemed like a panic move with Will Fuller being out, and you're fighting for a division. You brought in a wide receiver you thought could help, and Anthony Miller, of course, is surging. He didn't do a ton this past week, but the Chicago Bears offense as a whole didn't really need to do anything. They were manhandling the Vikings. So all these guys are interesting, and I would go, like I said, Smith is my number one guy. Number 2, I would pick up it would be Sutton if he's there. Otherwise, it would be DJ Moore.
And maybe I'm misremembering, but didn't you say yesterday you preferred Moore to Tre'Quan Smith on the show?
Perhaps I said that on the show, but after time and digging into things more, I like.
You like Tre'Quan more?
Well, yeah. Tre'Quan does have the Thanksgiving matchup against Atlanta that is going to be great. I mean, whenever you can have one of those awesome high-scoring matchups and it's on Thursday, gives you the advantage of knowing, are you up? Do you have the lead? Can I play it safe through the rest? And Tre'Quan's a type of player, very boom-bust, where if he has a bad game and it doesn't go his way, then you need to swing for the fences elsewhere.
Who would you start on Thanksgiving, Taylor Gabriel or Anthony Miller? Taylor Gabriel had 3 times as many targets, but Miller is scoring. He scored 5 times in 8 games. Do you want the volume of Taylor Gabriel, or do you want the touchdowns?
Anthony Miller. We've seen the volume from Taylor Gabriel hit like this in certain matchups before.
Does that go for the rest of the season, by the way, as well?
Yeah.
You'd rather have Anthony Miller?
I'd rather have Anthony Miller. A couple guys, just real quick, say you're in a super pinch, getting super pinched, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But are you interested?
It's your department.
the pinching?
I don't know. It's not my department, so I figure it's got to be yours.
Bruce Ellington, who is now on the Detroit Lions, if you haven't been paying attention, he came in and immediately made an impact. 9 targets, was 6 for 52. I don't think any of us expect Marvin Jones to play on Thursday. And with Golden Tate vacating that slot role, Bruce Ellington, he's got juice. I don't think he's as interesting as the other wide receivers we talked about. But if you're in a deeper league, Bruce Ellington, are you interested?
Yeah, I'm interested in the sense that Golden Tate left a hole that was not filled by anyone, and they went out and they signed Bruce Ellington, who is a good player. He's always been a favorite of reception perception. He hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Just gets hurt all the time. Yeah.
But if he's on the field, he's a good player, and the opportunity will be there. I don't love the matchup, though, this week against Chicago.
I don't really think the opportunity is going to be there for him.
You don't?
No, because if Marvin Jones comes back. I mean, Marvin Jones being off the field was a huge gaping hole in the situation.
Sure, but do you expect Marvin this week?
I do. I think Marvin's going to play on Thursday, but okay. I don't know for sure. Most platforms are projecting him to play right now, but we'll see.
Let's live in the world right now where Marvin Jones is out and you got to make a waiver wire decision. Would you rather pick up Bruce Ellington, Tre'Quan, or John Ross?
So tomorrow, not knowing about Marvin Jones,
correct,
and that's what you're going to have to do. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. I guess it'll be John Ross in that situation. But you're banking on no Green in that situation. You're banking on no Marvin Jones.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Ellington's done this before. I mean, you're not going to get a score from him. Maybe you get 3 catches. Maybe you get 4 or 5. It's what you need. If that's what you want.
Last week.
Yeah, I mean, but if Marvin's back, what are you going to get from him? I don't have high expectations for him coming into that offense, being the 3rd or 4th option.
Okay.
But maybe if Carry-On misses, Marvin misses, then it's law of,
someone's got to catch the ball.
Someone has to catch the ball. Are you interested in Chris Conley? 7 for 74, 2 touchdowns last night. Sammy Watkins started because he made a bet somewhere that he could start the game. I mean, he was
like limping onto the field to start the game. It was like, wait, why are you playing?
Does he have like a contract incentive for games started? I'm not even joking. Like he's
pulling a Cal Ripken.
I mean, his first play, he looked like he was just limping up the sideline, and then he was gone. He played 5 snaps. So if you started him,
yeah. The thing is with the foot, if he's re-injured the foot,
he plays 7% of the snaps.
I don't think he re-injured it. Because he was limping on the way out to the field. They said he was limping in warm-up. So it was like
7%. Why are you wasting an active roster spot on him?
Yeah,
he made a bet. He bet Andy Reid. He's like, watch this.
Yeah, if it turns out that it's anything serious, if it comes out this week, and we won't know anything this week because they're on bye. They don't have to put out their injury status this week, so unfortunately you won't know. But Chris Conley is someone you need to monitor. If Watkins is out, getting a piece of that offense is never a bad idea.
All right, let's we want to thank Pristine Auction.
Heck yeah, we do. Pristine Auction. If you're new to the show, welcome. Prepare yourself. And you might not know who Pristine Auction is. They are one of the craziest, coolest sites in the world. They have signed sports memorabilia in an auction format that you can pretty much just steal some of these things. You can win because it's an auction. You bid on whatever you want. You don't pay unless you win the actual item at the end. DeAndre Hopkins signed Texans jersey yesterday. $178 minus $100. It was only $78 yesterday on the auction.
That was very professional.
Thank you. A Stephon Diggs Color Rush jersey, $82. Signed, authentic, verified signatures that you win at auction. We've got them all over our studio. All 3 of us have them across our house. The holidays are coming up. It is awesome. You have to check it out. Hundreds of daily auctions that change every day. So go to Pristine Auction, Pristine auction.com, make a completely free account, and make sure that you let them know You found out about him from the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
And he meant houses. We don't. We live in different houses.
That is true.
Hey, Footclan, want to get you hyped for something. Want to tell you about something that's coming tomorrow. First off, it's the Megalodon show tomorrow. If you're new to the show, this is the annual Thanksgiving treat where we fill your belly with fantasy delights.
Hydrate.
Yeah, get ready because the show is incredibly long. We jam-pack everything in. And on top of that, we always do our Megalodon giveaway. And as a way of saying thank you to the fans for supporting this show, supporting us as we're asking you to cast some votes for us. So we want to give back because you're giving to us. So there's a big Megalodon giveaway. It's going to be at footclangiveaway.com. It will go up tomorrow.
Was it like a Doug Martin jersey?
Nah, man. Nah.
No Krampus involved. We're giving away a signed Hopkins jersey.
Ooh.
A signed Saquon Barkley jersey, and a signed Michael Thomas mini helmet. Go check it out. It's completely free to enter. It'll be at footclangiveaway.com.
Those are 3 fantasy football superstars, Mike.
They are.
All right. By the way, I went on a podcast last night, and I'm getting Red Dead Redemption questions on podcasts now. That's what...
That's what the world has come to.
That's called living your best life.
I was going to say, speaking of not sponsors, but yeah, I'm getting Red Dead questions.
What kind of question?
Whether he wanted to know specifically whether it was whether it was all it was cracked up to be. And I said ultimately, yeah, I've been pretending I can play video games for about 15 years now. And as a father of 3, most of the time I buy video games and I put them in the I put them in a box, and then I don't play them.
They stay protected like a rookie baseball card.
That is exactly right, just in case they become valuable later on. And I said I actually played this game, so that's the greatest praise that you could give. A 34-year-old man with children could play this game and force his way through to play it. So, man, that sounds like a sponsor. That sounds so much like a sponsorship. It's not. All right, running backs. Let's talk about running back waiver pickups. For me, it's just there's 3 guys I'm looking at and no one else really. Now we'll get into the weeds with some deeper items and options. For me, I'm looking at Gus Edwards, Elijah McGuire, and Josh Adams. Those are the 3 I'm looking at. Edwards is unowned. Elijah McGuire's basically unowned, was on bye. And then Josh Adams, Mike, you brought him up, rising star yesterday, 32% owned. He had 55% of the snaps last week, 58% of the carries. In a horrible misery of a defeat. But how do you guys prioritize those 3, and does it depend on what you're looking for?
I think of those, I do like those 3 guys. I would actually throw in Jalen Richard as the fourth option. Jalen Richard.
Don't proliferate that broken name.
Okay, Jalen Richard. I would probably prioritize him over Elijah McGuire, but I get where you're coming from, that they're a pretty similar tier of waiver wire pickup. Between Gus and Adams, it's really difficult because Gus Edwards looks like an absolute Mack truck running the ball. He looks fantastic. Gets a matchup with the Oakland Raiders, which is a Thanksgiving delight for him.
Not just Oakland. I mean, we've talked about Alex Collins' upcoming schedule, but if Gus does take this over,
sure,
Oakland, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's get in the playoffs, win in the playoffs, have a great time. I mean, Gus is my clear-cut number 1 because maybe he's not involved. Right?
Yeah,
maybe Gus is
not the guy. Does Harbaugh actually have a ticket for the Gus bus? We don't know.
He might not. The Gus bus might have flat tires. But Elijah McGuire, Jalen Richard, those guys to me are like they're pinch flex options that maybe will be okay, but they don't have the chance in my view to be the waiver wire pickups that win weeks, that become flat out must start top 15 type running backs. Gus Edwards, if he ends up getting the work, especially if Lamar Jackson is there, I mean, they rush the ball over 70% of their snaps. That is so backwards in the NFL right now. And, he looks good carrying the ball. And with that matchup, Gus is my clear cut. Like, I would spend the number 1 waiver priority. I would burn it on Gus. At this point in the year, what else are you waiting for?
I would burn it on Gus just to play him this week. I mean, that would be the ultimate reason why. I'm bewildered that you have a team that has had, 3 must-own backs so far this season? I mean, there was a time when Javorius was the guy you got to go grab. Alex Collins is the guy you got to start.
Just wait for Ty Montgomery.
I was going to say.
And then Kenneth
Dixon, too. So I have my hesitation about the long-term viability of Gus. He's definitely a player that could be a trap.
Oh, certainly.
Because Alex Collins could have 3 touchdowns next week against Oakland because,
Gus is
the wind blew a different direction.
Gus is not a luck to get the carries he had this last week. It could be a hot hand approach. But I brought this up on yesterday's show. Some of the quotes that were coming from Harbaugh about what he's been doing in practice, and it's time to reward him, and that they haven't had a guy like him so far this year. If Lamar Jackson continues as the starter, which I expect, I predict Gus has 20 carries.
Sure. Yeah, and to speak to Josh Adams, it's the similar situation where Coach Peterson of the Eagles coming into the game said Josh Adams is going to get more work, and we hear that all the time. This player, yada, yada, they're so great in practice, and then they don't actually get on the field. He was put on the field and has a string of decent matchups. So Josh Adams, I think, is a bit safer than Gus Edwards. Not a ton, but Gus and his matchups would make him my number 1 running back.
Any chance that if you need to start this week, you'd sign Theo Riddick above Josh Adams?
Yes.
To play on Thanksgiving.
If I'm in a full PPR, I still don't.
Full only.
I still don't fully trust that Josh Adams is going to be the guy. Now, I love the matchup a whole lot more for Josh Adams, so I probably would still go Josh Adams, especially looking long term. You've got, if Carry-On is only missing a week, then Theo is not going to be valuable after this week. So I guess
probably miss 2 weeks.
I would not put Theo ahead of Josh Adams, but he's in the conversation, and in a PPR league, he'll have double-digit targets this week with Carry-On out.
In case you're curious about LeGarrette Blount's role in the offense, his last 21 carries for Detroit have gone for a total of 16 yards.
That's a good free agent signing.
I think I could do it.
Sometimes you need players that make you think, I could do that.
Yeah.
See?
Now, this man was on bye. He's infinite.
He is all.
He's in a revenge game against the former team. We're talking about Frank Gore taking on the Indianapolis Colts. If you are desperate, are you going with the infinite man?
I mean, if you're desperate, sure.
All right.
I mean, Gore in desperation. For years, that's been the. I don't think it's a big revenge game.
So this guy might also be on your waiver, but Royce Freeman's owned in about half the leagues. Frank Gore or Royce Freeman?
I'll take Gore. Yeah.
I think I would as well.
Yeah, more snaps, more carries. By the way, did you see John Gruden say
yes.
that
John.
Jalen Richard might be the MVP of our team?
Never change, John. I love you so much.
And then he said he reminds me of Charlie Garner, which I just laughed at because who makes those references anymore?
John Gruden
does.
That's literally time capsule stuff right there. It's like he's like he wasn't announcing football for the last.
It's just so crazy to me that John Gruden was Sean McVay. I mean, he was the young, so young. He's the young,
It's
hot
been 84 years.
coach. That's like that was who Gruden was, and then he just never.
Look, we all get old.
He grew up fast.
By the way, probably a good time to pick up Malcolm Brown.
Yes, thank you. Handcuff watch.
If you're the Todd Gurley owner,
We've been harping on it for a few weeks.
especially going into the bye, who other than the Gurley owner is going to snake Malcolm Brown from you? Go get him right now.
Spencer Ware, Malcolm Brown, Gio Bernard.
Gio's a big one.
Yeah, those are really, really
Austin
high
Eckler,
priority.
if for some reason
I was
you
gonna say
can.
the next tier, I'll put Austin Eckler, Rod Smith, and Chase Edmonds, and then maybe Jalen Samuels. I don't know. I'm not as locked into that because you don't.
It
I
could be
don't think
Stephen Ridley.
We don't know that it would be Samuels, but those other guys, you can feel pretty confident that if something happens to the starter, they will get a huge uptick in opportunity.
Now, gentlemen, I couldn't find our dartboard, so do you guys still want to talk tight ends?
No, not if we can't throw.
Somehow we're in the tight end waiver show. Vance McDonald is the MVP of this this particular segment because he's been a waiver wire tight end pickup for about 8 weeks.
I almost take him off the list now, though.
Pick him up.
He is
because he's almost
finally owned in the majority of leagues. It's taken way too long for people to pick him up, but he is owned in 61% of leagues. It's probably even more than that, considering factoring in dead leagues. If he's there, certainly pick him up. But I agree with Andy; he's probably not.
All right, so then the other guys. Oof.
I think Cameron Brate is really interesting this week, and I guess Brate should have the opportunity to himself, and Jameis Winston's the quarterback. Now, that's not a guarantee in fantasy football for anything, but you're talking about the tight end position where players were frequently goosed this past week. You're looking for some sort of guaranteed reception totals because it's maybe less about winning with your tight end and more about not losing with your tight end.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. Would you rather go after a tight end like Herndon, who you're going
from the
for,
Jets, for people who don't know.
the Jets, and you're hoping for a touchdown, basically, would you rather have a guy who has a greater chance at a touchdown but is not that involved in the offense, or would you rather have a guy like Hireman who is involved? He's going to get 5+ targets, but
won't get shut out.
But he's probably going to turn it into like 25 yards.
Between Herndon and Hireman, I would go with Jeff Hireman. Cameron Brate is my top tight end pickup of the week, and behind him, I would put Jeff Hireman at number 2.
Are you interested in Jonnu Smith after 6 for 44? And he scored the previous 2 weeks.
He has been growing. The question for him is the health of the rest of the wide receiver core for the Tennessee Titans because they've
and the quarterback, right? Blonde Bombshell might start this week.
Yeah, Blaine Gabbert against the Houston Texans.
Here's a conundrum for you. Let's say hypothetically your backup quarterback on your dynasty team.
I know where this is going.
Let's say the backup quarterback on your dynasty team was Alex Smith, and let's say your starting quarterback is let's just say Patrick Mahomes.
Sure, or Jared Goff,
whatever.
Sure.
And so you got the bye week coming off, and look, Alex Smith. By the way, get well soon. That injury, the news report coming out,
it's good.
It's very bad. Spiral fracture. Broke through the skin, compound fracture, very, very serious injury. Going to be very hard for him to come back in general. So get well soon, Alex Smith. Would you rather start Blaine Gabbert, Colt McCoy, or Josh McCown, who could very well start this week as well?
I would go with Colt. I think Colt is actually capable, and he will run the ball a little bit. So congratulations.
Cool. That hypothetical situation obviously can't be true for anybody.
No, that would be disgusting.
Because it would be very depressing.
Back to Jonnu Smith at tight end. He's a guy that I've always liked the talent. Like I remember last year thinking when Delaney Walker's done, Jonnu very much can take over that spot for the Titans. I don't like their quarterback situation. Jonnu Smith is on the field a lot, but he's a run blocker. He has not been not been running enough routes. However, the matchup, while it looks bad, because it's a good defense in Houston, we've seen the last 2 teams really attack the defensive line pressure by throwing.
Yeah, Hireman had 10 catches against him?
Yes. Hireman had a great game, and then Jordan Reed, number 1 tight end of the week this last week against Houston. So I think Jonnu Smith in a bad situation should be looked at.
Would you play
8 targets? I mean, last week for Smith raised him up from that 1 red zone target category.
Hireman against Pitt or Jonnu against Houston as of right now.
I don't believe that Hireman will ever get near the red zone. Okay. So I'm going to go Jonnu.
Right. And then talking about defenses this week, Dallas kind of shoots up the board against Washington. It's Colt. I still think Colt McCoy is okay.
But a transition, beat up offensive line, no pass catching weapons. Dallas' defense playing well.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. Between the Jacksonville Buffalo matchup, which side of the DSTs do you want?
Both.
Yeah,
I know, but I'm saying you got to pick one.
You would of course rather have the Jacksonville side.
I mean, they turned the Steelers over and pretty much made it competitive.
I guess they're pretty well owned, but so you
over-under in that game.
Buffalo.
The over-under in that game is 37.5 points.
What?
It's the lowest of the entire week.
What?
The game's in Buffalo.
Oh.
So I would start both defenses with confidence. I mean, if Buffalo can slow Leonard Fournette down, I mean, it's kind of like what's going to happen.
Yeah. I would, New England as well, another good defense.
Yeah,
Josh McCown, we were all excited to see him because he's kind of been this, crazy
he's a
kamikaze
mythical man these days.
Mythical gunslinger. He just kind of sucked last week. It's like, maybe his time has come. And so, yeah, I don't think New England's going to be the get-right game for McCown if he plays.
Fair enough. All right, let's get into the quarterbacks.
Full stream ahead.
If New England somehow out there, they're a good start against the Jets.
Yes.
And Mr. McCown.
So I was the first one into the show, Doc, to pick my streamer, which means it's Jameis Winston. Whee! He's widely available, and he's playing against the San Francisco 49ers. And as we talked about, Tampa Bay quarterback equals quarterback 2 on the year. Jameis, it's frustrating to watch. He's going to turn the ball over, but he's also likely to throw 300 yards and a couple touchdowns.
Okay. All right.
Speaking of a couple touchdowns, my start of the week is a guy who has been throwing a couple touchdowns in his last 4 games, which has been a real change, obviously, for the Cleveland Browns. He's on pace for 36 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's bad statistical manipulation on a small
You're just
sample
saying over
size.
the 4 games.
Yes, over the 4-game stretch. I mean, he's been throwing multiple touchdowns every week. He's got a great matchup this week against Cincinnati, who is the 31st best team against quarterbacks. The offense seems to be finally clicking, and I believe in Baker. I think he is an exceptional talent. Things are coming together. The matchup is right. I would be absolutely fine streaming him, and he can still get it done with his legs as well.
Some have called John Gruden, not dependable as a head coach. But I'll tell you what's dependable. That defense giving up 2 or more touchdowns. The Oakland Raiders have given up 2+ in 7 straight games.
Including to Josh Rosen.
Yeah, and
the Raiders really screwed the pooch last week, losing to the Cardinals.
Yeah,
going for that number 1 pick.
Yeah, they beat the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Insert Ravens quarterback here. I'm starting and streaming a Ravens quarterback. If Lamar Jackson's available,
you'll play Flacco.
You got to grab him. And if Joe Flacco was back,
Yeah.
Would you rather play? I mean, I guess you're saying you would play Flacco, but Nick Mullins against Tampa Bay is also an intriguing.
No,
matchup.
I'll take the Oakland matchup.
Take the Ravens.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't. As well as Nick Mullins started his career and he played pretty well last week, there's still just rookie variables that are troublesome. Those games, the more film you get on a player, the more you see them struggle.
Yeah, but Tampa Bay had a lot of film on Eli Manning.
Well, sure.
Didn't work out.
But that's different because Eli's, he's an established quarterback. Nick Mullins.
Oh, he's established.
Nick Mullins, Eli Manning has seen everything. Nick Mullins has not seen everything the defenses have thrown at him in a game, and because of that, there's just more variability.
They've made statues out of Eli Manning by this point, and they even allow those statues on the field behind the center
to be the quarterback.
To be the quarterback.
Yeah, he's the first player in quarterback in history that will actually his bust will go into the Hall of Fame, but it will be him.
He'll be there running.
Yeah,
but you can't tell.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Looks frozen.
I got it here. Let me ask you guys this. I was asked this on the podcast last night too. Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, are they Hall of Famers?
Phillip Rivers is to me.
I am a firm no on both guys.
Oh. Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer.
I feel like if you say
me.
yes to Phillip Rivers, you have to say yes to Eli Manning because
of the Super Bowls.
He's won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah. I hate the Super Bowl argument so much.
For quarterbacks, to me, it still does make sense. Multiple Super Bowls make sense, and I don't want Eli in because he's not a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, and that's why I don't want Phillip Rivers in. Those guys will always be attached to each other because they were draft day trade. There's.
I think if you take Eli Manning and you give him, he's got 2 Super Bowls and he's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs,
right?
And then the streak of consecutive games started, which is hard to do in the NFL. If you take those things into account, he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, he'll be, and I'm fully convinced Eli
just don't
will
think
be
he deserves it.
a Hall of Famer. But no, he's not. He's not even one of the best 10 quarterbacks in the league, even in his prime.
Not in his prime.
Okay, in his prime, maybe he was 8.
I don't know about that.
No, I agree
6?
with that. Yeah.
But is that Hall of Fame? He's like the 6th
Well,
best
if I keep
quarterback?
saying then you'll move him up. And, I mean, you've gone
But
from 10 to 8 to 6.
Shouldn't you have to be Hall of Fame? Shouldn't you have to be like, I don't know, top 3 in the league at some point?
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, there's Drew Brees. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
He's never won an MVP award.
Yes, he is.
Because he was never in his generation, he was never the number 1.
And he is a top 3 quarterback year in and year out.
Top 3 in fantasy.
In real life.
Well, Peyton
NFL
Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they were all ahead of him during most of Brees' career. So that absolutely
and right now
destroys your argument.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, your argument's in shambles.
Shambles.
How does having
mutilated?
You literally are saying my argument. He is a top 3 quarterback. Literally right now.
No,
he's the top 3 quarterback in the league.
So if you're a top 3 for one
second.
season, you're in the Hall of Fame.
I said you have to at least be a top 3 quarterback at some point.
Like
Eli Manning never got there.
Okay.
Drew Brees has been there multiple times, and certainly this year.
Does this matter, guys? Both Rivers and
I thought that was going to be the end of the sentence. Does this matter, guys, at all? Like, is that?
No.
Oh, well, there's that too. But Rivers and Manning are both top 8 in passing touchdowns and passing yards all time.
Yeah. I mean, Eli Manning had 4,400-yard, 35 touchdown season. I'm pretty sure that puts him in the top 5 on the course of a season.
Not 3.
He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, I think so.
He will be. He shouldn't be.
352 career touchdowns.
If his last name were McLaughlin,
he wouldn't
get in.
Nepotism.
Yeah.
If McLaughlin had 2 Super Bowl MVPs and two well, let's poll the audience.
We should do that.
Let's put this. Hey,
we got Joe Holka in the studio.
Let's put this on our
today.
Oh
hey,
yeah,
Joe.
He gets a shout out.
Shout out.
Eli Manning, is he a Hall of Famer, Joe?
I agree. I think he will be, but
but
I'm not sure he's totally deserving because I'm kind of with you.
okay.
So Joe is a smart guy, and he is completely echoing everything I say.
But you can't hear him, so
You
it might
can't hear
not
him,
be
but that's
true.
why we're telling you he's going to get in. Probably doesn't deserve it. However,
I would love
wanna
this to be a poll question.
Yes, let's put this on our community tab on YouTube. Baby Josh, take care of that.
Yeah.
If you haven't been involved, we got a rocking community tab.
We need the 4 options.
4 options. It's either Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, both, or neither.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. That'll be the poll. Check it out on the community tab on our YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootball.
Do you realize, gentlemen, because I'm about to hit this outro button, do you realize that the only thing that stands between us and a Megalodon episode is this outro button?
Oh, man. Oh. I'm not ready. Hey,
I'm ready.
check out draft.com/ballers, the studio sponsor. We will see you tomorrow for the Megalodon. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.